Winston and Julia are challenging the competence of Big Brother. Signs everywhere that say that Big Brother is watching. Yet they are having a forbidden affair, so Big Brother cannot see everything. Big Brother has not seen them exchange a love note in the middle of the hallway at the Ministry of Truth. Big Brother did not see them meeting near a statue in the city circle, or see them take a roll in the hay in the country. Big Brother did not see them taking a room and meeting to exercise their love instinct. Big Brother hasn't seen Winston write in his diary, or so he thinks. Having gotten this far, it is no small wonder that a member of the inner party, O'Brien, has said some ambiguous words to Winston. These ambiguous words lead to an invitation to O'Brien's house. Winston and Julia go. O'Brien invites them to become members of the Brotherhood, the resistance to Big Brother. O'Brien gives them the collected works of Emmanuel Goldstein, an explanation of how the narrative and the class system in Oceania work. Winston reads Goldstein as Julia sleeps in their love nest, and the work confirms Winston's observations about how the narrative is maintained. But Big Brother has been watching. Big Brother knows about the diary, about the love nest, about their affair, about the note. Big Brother has also tempted Winston in his job, giving him evidence about how at one point or another the official history was a lie. Winston's wrongthink is observed through a face crime. Winston and Julia have been successful, and they think their success points to the incompetence of Big Brother and the party. But they have actually been on a leash, and the party, in the person of O'Brien, arrests them, imprisons them, and tortures them. Julia and Winston need to be remade. They need re-education. Big Brother, the inner party, O'Brien, they had failed to totally cancel Winston's mind through the normal means. All the posters and sloganeering and social pressure still were not enough to control Winston's mind. The party needed to do more to fully integrate Winston into the society. Some very special attention from the Ministry of Love was needed. Reintegration would require new learning, new understanding, new acceptance on the part of Winston. Learning required the practice of doublespeak, without any doubts and with a good conscience. Winston needed to know, for instance, that Big Brother was real and mortal, and that Big Brother would never die. He needed to know that 2 + 2 could equal 5 if he looked at it properly. He needed to know that the party did not seek power for its own goals, but rather for the weak, and that the party would do whatever it took to maintain its power. O'Brien waxes eloquent about this doublespeak. There will be no way of defeating this very self-conscious oligarchy. It has figured out how to maintain rule. Here's what O'Brien says. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumphs, and self-abasement. Everything else we shall destroy, everything. Already we are breaking down the habits of thought which have survived from before the revolution. We have cut the links between child and parent, and between man, and between man and woman. No one dares trust a wife or a child or a friend any longer. But in the future there will be no wives and no friends. Children will be taken from their mothers at birth, as one takes eggs from a hen. The sex instinct will be eradicated. Procreation will be an annual formality, like the renewal of a ration card. We shall abolish the orgasm. Our neurologists are at work upon that now. There will be no loyalty except loyalty towards the party. There will be no love except love of Big Brother. There will be no laughter except the laugh of triumph over a defeated enemy. There will be no art, no literature, no science. Boom. Winston thinks that the spirit of man might stand in the way of such an accomplishment, that human nature might get in the way of such totalitarian dreams. But O'Brien claims to know better. He says that Winston is the last of his kind, that his kind are extinct. Winston is alone. Nothing stands between the party and success. Winston still does not believe it until he sees what he has become in a mirror. All the months of interrogation and torture have reduced him to a shell of a man. His teeth are falling out. His back is hunched. He is decayed. Winston asks O'Brien at the end of Part 3, Section 3, how long it will be until they shoot him. Quite a while, says O'Brien. And from this point on, Winston begins to obey the party. The party allows him to regain his strength. Winston obeys, but there are still two obstacles to his re-education. First, he has not betrayed Julia, as we see on page 286. And he does not love the party yet. He still hates it. He still has a heretical mind beneath the appearance of conformity. And these two things are connected. It is because Winston has loyalty to Julia that he will not give way to loving Big Brother and the party. So O'Brien sets out to get him to betray Julia. And he does this in a most ingenious way in Part 3, Section 5. O'Brien brings out the thing that Winston fears the most, a rat. And O'Brien threatens to unleash the rat on a tied-up Winston. Winston then shouts frantically and says, "No, do it to Julia, not me, Julia. I don't care what you do to her." That, my friend, is betrayal. In that it shows that from the ultimate point of view, Winston is willing to make Julia suffer, even though he has promised never to do it. Winston loses his self-respect. And from that point on, Winston is integrated into society. He cries tears of joy at a victory of Oceania over its enemies. The last words of the novel are these: the struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother. Ever since Tocqueville wrote Democracy in America in the 1830s, thinkers who concern themselves with modern democracies have been worried about the immense social pressure in modern public opinion. There is a narrow range of acceptable opinions in a modern democracy. When one diverges from that narrow range, one is no longer welcome in the political community. And that is a big worry. Orwell's 1984 shows us a system of enforcing that narrow range. The system is the story in the novel, as I say. The system is an enforcement of party discipline. It has no respect for individual consistency or worries about double standards or hypocrisy. It invents a whole new language enforced by strict surveillance and public opinion to justify its ever-changing standards of justice. Perhaps there is a long way before such a world that O'Brien describes could arise. Perhaps we still have a very funny bunch of late-night talk show hosts who do much more than laugh at their enemies. Perhaps our ruling party is defined by so much more than hate and spite. People are still allowed and encouraged to get together in groups to exchange ideas freely, I think. Children would never squeal on their parents or out them for being Trump supporters. Children spend a lot of time with their mothers still. Perhaps that is, when you look at it, O'Brien's list, things don't look so bad. But perhaps there are reasons to worry. Everyone thought that the fall of communism meant that totalitarian systems could not ultimately be successful in the face of human limits. When those systems attacked the family or the human sense of community or friendship or love or the profit motive, the communist systems reached very tough nuts to crack. And instead of cracking the nuts, communism itself cracked. It was defeated by human nature, or so we tell ourselves. Human nature and pressure from the outside, at least. Orwell and the democratic experience as conceived by Tocqueville may call this interpretation of the fall of communism into question. Communism did badly what the party in 1984 could do well? Is there a more efficient way to organize a system that promotes a narrative? I wonder. Certainly Orwell wondered. The party in the hands of a managerial elite may more successfully use its megaphone and its muzzle to narrow the range of acceptable opinion, or to promote the narrative. Nature is not self-enforcing after all, and it requires some conventional support to express itself. Strip away that conventional support, and one might strip away a weak nature, or allow some aspects of nature to express themselves at the expense of others. Certainly the experience of Winston in 1984 suggests that nature is not strong enough to resist thoroughgoing and effective social pressure. Communism did not do that well enough to stamp out nature. Perhaps the question after reading Orwell's 1984 is this: can the modern managerial state succeed in stamping out a nature where communism had failed? Can it remake nature where communism didn't? People are turning to Orwell because his system is the story, and our system is starting to look a lot like Oceana's, or so it seems.